afternoon, Nkosi Talk Shows family. It's Nomsa here at Nkosi Talk Shows. Find your own voice, led from within. So with me today, I'm with Amanda Marie and Grant Morel. How are you guys?
As we say, very good, very good. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. So the topic today is how to overcome the failure in business. Fear of failure is a common obstacle for entrepreneurs and professionals. It often lurks in the shadows, keeping us from making bold steps, pursuing innovative ideas, or even starting a venture. Yet the truth is, failure is not the end, it's a stepping stone to growth, resilience, and success. So, what do you guys think about the topic?
I think it's a great topic. And I say this week after week that the topic's come up at just the right time. I had a client today here and I've been asking them about looking at the numbers in the business. And although they're very busy and they have a general impression they're going well, they didn't know the numbers. So I was ask your accountant for the figures. You should be looking at these figures each month so you can spot trends and see them coming. Well, guess what? The answer comes back that in the last, I've only just started working with this client, right? I only just started working, but they discovered by looking at the figures in the last year, their sales have dropped between 50 to 60%. And they didn't know because they were too busy working in the business to actually look at the figures and know. So I highlighted the fact this is why it's so important to look at it. Now, the greatest thing was the commitment to bounce back. And that was the greatest thing because, yeah, is there a failure? Well, I don't think there is such a thing as a failure. I don't like the word failure. I reframe the word. And again, it is a spotlight on something. So I think the timing as always is great. And there's a lot of people coming towards the end of the calendar year, not necessarily the financial year, but the end of the calendar year. And it is a time for reflection. And sometimes things have gone well, sometimes things haven't, but it's the way you choose to look at it. And I think it's a great subject for this time of the year before we start getting the final presents wrapped. That's what I feel like saying. What about you, Amanda?
Well, because I'm a teacher, I always think about like just kids in general, like overcoming their fears of failure in like any area, right? And oftentimes when there's something that a child finds really, really difficult, it's really hard for them to even attempt that. So like the students that struggle with writing, getting them to write anything is like pulling teeth, right? Like they're just like, nope. And they'll like say, I got to go to the bathroom, or they'll wander around the room, or they'll start reading a book, or they just start like fooling around with their pencils. Like it's like complete avoidance, in an area that they don't feel very successful. It's like complete avoidance in those areas. And so that's really like a fear coming out of them not feeling good enough in that area to even attempt it. And so what I always try to do is find ways for them to feel successful, whether it's like me scribing some of it out for them, or brainstorming ideas first, or giving them like sentence starter ideas. And so it's really about like finding ways to overcome a fear in like any area, right? Because in business, what are your fears? Are you focusing on the wrong things, like Grant was saying? And in the classroom, it's the same way. Like when there's a fear come up, they focus on something else, right? That fear is showing up in this area. It's like, oh, we're doing long division. I'm going to go focus and do something else because I want to completely avoid that. And so it's really about like being like able to pull them back and be like, no, we can learn this, or we can take a look at this, or we can step into this fear and find a way to make us stronger on the other side. And so that's how I'm approaching this topic today, because I'm not a business owner, but I do run my own like arts, like I run art classes, and I run and I have my books, and the fear of failure with putting my books out to the world is always there as well too. But my vision is just like, if it helped, my books help one person, then it did the right thing, right? And so I kind of have always looked at it as that, and not always like, my fear is like not putting out what's inside of me, right? Like not putting it out to the world, what's inside of me. And it doesn't always have to be perfect. It just is like, because some people too, their fear of failure is so large that they never actually do anything about it. So I know lots of people who want to write books, but they never actually write the book because of their fear of failure is so strong that they don't even like dip their toe in that water of writing, even though they want to write. What do you think, Nomsa?
I agree with you and Grant as well, because Grant he talks about his clients not knowing the numbers and stuff. For me, I think the numbers, I have to look at the numbers and say what is going on in the business. And also, Amanda, you said your fear is bringing out what's best inside of you. I think we all have that fear. If we bring this, if we do this, or the successes. Some people even with the coaching, when I go coaching, like when we go like as a group, like to discuss things, we have different days where we go as a group and we talk about our fears. Some people even fear like telling like their charges, like their membership, how much they charge when they're talking to clients. They fear about talking about prices, and it's like I used to feel like that as well, feel guilty when I talk about the prices. But I think sometimes it is fearing being judged as well, and being afraid of like if I take this journey, what if I don't succeed? People are going to judge me. So for me, I've learned that the journey that I'm taking is for me and the people that are walking along with me. So if I don't do it, if I don't do the steps that I've meant to be doing, that means I'm letting down the people that I've meant to walk with them. So I have to take this step. Whatever is necessary, I have got to do it in order for me to take my life to the next level. So what do you think, Grant?
I think that's brilliant, Nomsa, and it is take it to the next level. I think when it comes to fear of failure, and there's two sides to this story. You know, a lot of people are fearful. I'd like to start at the beginning. Where does this all come from? So if you're listening there on social media, if you're driving or you're thinking, and we think of failure, and we all think of failure to some extent. Ooh. I mean, I don't know anybody who really wants to fail, apart from those who like to self-sabotage, and that's a different subject for a different day. But failure for most people, they don't want to fail. But I want you all to think back now and just think back at the first time that you feel, I'm not saying you did, but the first time you felt that you failed at something. And I want you to trace back to when it all began. And then once you do that, I want you to wonder why you're so fearful of it now. So I want to start at the beginning. Does that mean anything to you, Amanda, or not? So does that, not you personally, but do you see where I'm going with this?
So like in the very beginning of something. So one of the
Yeah.
things I started with when I got divorced and I was a single mom and I had finished my master's and I had all these ideas in my head about like I want to write books, but I want to run art like workshops, and then um I wanted to like run yoga retreats, and I wanted to do all of these things, and I was like, I don't know where to start. I have no idea where to start. I'm so like stuck because I just don't even know where to begin, because my brain is like, I have this idea and this idea and this idea and this, and it's just like all the time didn't know. But I knew that I wanted to do something other than just teaching, because I was getting like at a point where I could teach really well without having to like plan a lot. Like I had that part of my career under control, and then I'm like, well, now I have these gaps, and also gaps when I didn't have my daughter. That was like, okay, I need something to fill that time, but something that I'm like passionate about. but I was kind of stuck for a while because I didn't really know where to start. So I went to an entrepreneurial friend and I said, like, here's all my ideas. What should I do? And she's like, just start. Just start was her like, and I was like, well, with which one? And she's like, whichever one you want to start with, just start. And then eventually you'll find your way, you'll find your path. Because I was like, I want to speak on this topic and I want to do the like, and it was just like, just start and the journey will like take you in the direction you want to go. And so that was kind of my like initial like, okay, like I can actually start illustrating this book that I wanted to write when I was in a retreat, and like has been sitting in this journal ever since, right? And like I can start hosting like art nights where I like teach people how to do different things in the art realm, and I can do I can start with this too. And I just eventually and became, and then even talking on here was one of my goals, was to start talking and speaking at different events. And so I think sometimes we're just afraid to start because we don't even know where to start, because our brains are going like, I have this idea and this idea and this and this. And we're just like, it's like there's so much going on in our heads that we just like get stuck. And when one of the things that I've learned too, even because my brain's always like that, is to learn how to just focus on like one or two things at a time and then complete that task and then go to the next one. Because I think a lot of our fear of failure too is that we start and we're super motivated and we're super passionate, and then that motivation and passion like kind of drains because those fears come in, and then we like never actually get to the finished product because we like lose our momentum through that. And one of the things I've learned is that if you want to accomplish anything, is to try to do a little bit every single day or a little bit every single week. And especially as a busy like single mom, and I work full time on other things, that is still like just do a little tiny bit each and every day or every week to try to achieve your goals. And it's really about enjoying the journey. It's not always the destination as well. It's about like, okay, what is this journey going to teach me today?
I agree with you, Amanda, and also Grant is saying the start. The start is the one that is a problem for me. I close my eyes. The start is not a problem to me. I just close my eyes and just go for it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want. If you ask me, if you hear me asking for an advice, it means I want to do it. If I keep saying I'm gonna start, I'm gonna start. If I come to you and ask a grant and say, how can I do this, and you give me advice, you speak, and then I go to somebody else, and then I sit down and I'll be like, this person gave me the advice, and they took time to give me the advice. So meaning that I've got to do this. And I have to close my eyes. No, I don't speak to family if I'm making really big decisions. I speak to them after I've done it. By the time they say, oh, no, don't do it, I'm like, I've done it already. So that is the fear of like, if I speak to my family, it causes more fear. But I find if I don't, and then it works. And I also agree with Amanda when she says like, is they start to just go for it. Whatever you want to do, just do it. Don't like if you want to do like blogs and stuff, just write and do it. I was talking to this woman, she was giving me good news, but she's trying to convince me. I was like, you don't need to convince me, it's good news. You just give me good news and then I make a decision.
Give it to me. Give it to me now.
I was like, she was trying to, because I said to her yesterday, call me tomorrow. And then if she calls me tomorrow, I was like, listen, explain what I need to do. Don't try to convince me. You don't need to convince me. When there is good news, there's good news. So you don't need to convince me to go along with it. So I was like, okay, what do I need to do? So I think sometimes it's really, really important to understand that if you don't start your whatever business or that promotion, no one will do it for you. No one. I can get scared and go to Grant and pay Grant and say, Grant, Grant will sit there and do his NLP and trigger some things. But at the end of the day, I asked him to go and do it.
That's
What
right.
do you think, Grant?
Well, yeah, you're right. That's exactly what I would do. I'd trigger something to get you going. But you look at it. When it comes to fear, it normally comes back to usually when we were kids, when we were at school, when we stood there and perhaps you wasn't listening or perhaps you didn't understand, you was hiding your head, and the teacher, like Amanda, saw you and realised. And maybe not all teachers were quite as understanding as yielding as Amanda. And they might say, Grant, stand up and explain to us what that means. And you stand up and you know you've got nothing. You haven't got a clue. And you stand there and you make up some stuff. And everybody laughs at you. And the teacher scolds you. And you're standing up, standing out from the crowd because you're standing up. And this is why people fear stage fright. Being on stage, standing up, because it goes back to this thing at school. It's a well-known thing. And our mind goes back. It's an anchor. So every time it says do something, expose yourself in public, create exposure and do that, your fear is ridicule, wrong, something. I had a client yesterday morning with it. Yesterday morning, they're blowing up on social media. And of course, someone said something negative, as they always will. The more you stick your head out the pulpit, as my old boss said, once you go up the ladder, you're sticking your head out the pulpit, someone will shoot it off. And it's true, you've got to protect yourself, right? But the point is, people will fear ridicule because your mind will probably go back to that first experience. That's why I asked you to go back to that first experience, to really, and if you say, I don't know, well, find out. Take some time to dig in, ask family members, whatever. Can you remember? Was there an experience? Did I ever mention something? Be curious because you want to get to that point. And when you get to it, I want you to examine it. I mean, it's probably like you're 5 or 6 years old and it was something daft, something that seemed like a big thing then. But ask yourself, is that really a problem now? That you didn't know the date of some war or some king or something when you were 7 years old. Is it really a problem in your life now? Did you show up every day? Does your boss call you into the office and say, answer that question? Do they really? Yeah, no. They don't even know it happened. The only person who knows is you. And I can guarantee you, your teacher doesn't remember. And I bet your friends don't either. The only person who's playing it over and over again in your head is you, beating yourself up unnecessarily. You're worrying about something that almost didn't happen. And a little bit of NLP knowledge is that knowing that our human brain and that our memory recall is absolutely appalling. Police have carried out tests on this, fake bank robberies, and got members of the public to say, did you see what happened? Can we take a statement? And like the guy who did the robbery was a dark-haired guy with a red jumper. And they say, yeah, it was the blonde-haired guy with a blue jumper. And they're horrendously wrong at remembering things. Now, that's good news because that bad experience that you're remembering, I can promise you're remembering a very, very wrong version of it because you replay it again and again. Now, have you ever photocopied a piece of paper and you photocopied it like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times? And maybe you pulled the paper a little bit and it comes out just a little bit fuzzy. It is quite literally a facsimile of the original. In other words, it is a version of the original, but not the original. Well, our memory's like that. Neurologically, there's many theories of where memory is stored. Oh, it's stored here or there or there. It's properly stored in many different parts of the brain. So when you recall a memory like having breakfast on, last Wednesday morning, your mind will get these pieces, rather like a jigsaw puzzle. You get these pieces from all parts of your brain and chuck it onto the board and try to put them into pieces. Now, rather like a jigsaw puzzle, your first attempt at making that picture that is on the box, often you get a few parts in a bit funky places. They don't really quite fit, do they? And it's a little bit of a hash, the first one, and you have to go back to version. And memory's a bit like that. When we recall it and get all these pieces and try to put them together, they don't quite fit. But we accept that as our memory of the real fact that happened. Now, every time you recall that memory, it gets a little bit more fuzzier and a little bit more fuzzier and a little bit more funky. So this thing that you're remembering that happened when you was 5, 6, 7 years old, 8 years old, 15, whatever, your first boyfriend, your first girlfriend, I don't care. That thing, you aren't even remembering it properly. You're remembering a terribly inaccurate version of what really happened. So why are you beating yourself up about that? And that failure that you had, my question, was it really the failure you think it was? I bet it wasn't. I bet you're just replaying it and putting the pieces back together in all the wrong places and playing a really crappy version of the truth. Right? So, firstly, you're beating yourself up over a fear of failure, going back to the past, that is an inaccurate memory. So you kind of wasted your life on that for a start, just to be a bit honest with you. And secondly, if you get something wrong, well, isn't that progress? Because we know if you're going to take the analogy of writing that book, I'm going to write that book. Well, you haven't, have you? You haven't written it. The sum total, take away all the words, the measurable fact is you haven't written it. But if you start it, if you at least get the title, if you at least get the chapters, and I can tell you how to get the chapters in minutes anyway. If you do that, at least you've got the skeleton of the book. Now that is like, massively ahead of when that idea was just in your head. Well, I'm going to write that book. Well, yeah, a lot of people are going to do a lot of things. As my friend used to say, talk is cheap, money buys houses. So let's just see, are you actually going to do it? So an idea as opposed to a version 1 is a very different thing. Just bring that version 1. You can always press edit. No one said you can't. You always can. And have you ever seen some of the best books in the world? They'll do an updated version, which goes to show they didn't get it right in the first place, did they? It was a bestseller, an international bestseller. It was good enough, but things changed. There's the clue. Life changes, and you have to evolve. So yeah, you have to press that edit button,
Even
and that's the key point.
even just on the covers of books, like I've gone back to my books, and that's a process that I've been doing in the last little bit, is like rebranding all of my books, because like I'm a single mom and I like just made them, and I learned how to self-publish on Amazon, and then I worked with this lady who was like, you got to brand everything and like make all your books look like the same, like how Diary of a Wimpy Kid, all of the books look the same. And I was like, I never thought of that before. And so and I was like, and I wasn't really concerned about that. But now that I'm like trying to like focus a little bit more on like having like a brand that's clear, that's one of the things I've been going back and doing, is to really like making all of my books, like all of my children's books anyways, look exactly the same, so that that that's like the way all of them look, so that if you see one of them, you're like, oh, they kind of all go together, right? Even though they're on very different topics, but they're mostly all focused on mindfulness and the classroom and yoga for kids. But that's something that I've definitely done for myself. And then when you're talking about writing a book, that's one of my goals this year, this in 2024, was to write about the abundance I see around me all the time. And so each week I've been writing a blog entry about focusing on the like abundance that you can see, especially people who feel like they're just like, I'm not there, like I want this, but I'm not there. But like, you're never going to get there if you're just focusing on your lack all of the time. And so for me too, I've been focusing on like all of the abundance that I see, like abundance in friendships, abundance in opportunities, abundance to make a difference, abundance to like just show somebody that you care, like all of these things, and how we can focus on those things each and every week. And so one of my things too was like, I was like, I have a lot of failures in relationships, and I expect people to commit to me on like this level, but like, can I even commit to myself, was the question I had for myself. And so I was like, if I want this level of commitment and type of person in my life, then I have to become that type of person. I have to become the type of person that's going to commit to my goals every single week. I have to become that person that's going to make sure I get my butt to the gym at least 3 to 5 times a week, right? If I want that type of person in my life, which is something that I've decided that I wanted, I have to also become that person first before I can like have that person in my life, right? And because I'm like, I have no trouble getting a boyfriend. That's not the problem. It's getting the type of boyfriend that I really want. With, right? I'm like, I could get a boyfriend tomorrow if I really wanted to, but I don't just want a boyfriend. I want, like, the right partner,
Good
right? And
definition, that. Yeah.
for that, I have to become the right partner for myself too. And so that goal of writing, I'm now on like 47 blog entries, and I've just started putting it all into a book, and it's like called, I think I called it Your Abundant Life. I can't remember, or Seeing Abundance. Seeing Abundance is what I called it. And I've been like playing with what the cover page will look like and everything. And if nobody buys it, it doesn't matter, because this is the whole journey was for me to focus on just seeing the abundance around me all of the time and having gratitude for that, and noticing that abundance isn't just money. Abundance is so many other things, and we can truly like level up our journey by focusing on the good and the abundance that we see all around us all of the time. But I've had to commit to myself to writing every single week. And so that has been my goal. And I've achieved it essentially. I think there's like 1 or 2 weeks where I didn't write, but like I'm on week number 47 of 52. And I literally, like at the beginning of January last year, had this like, I'm going to write 52 blog entries. And I literally sat down and wrote 52 topics all on abundance, so that each week I don't even have to think about what I'm writing about. I just go and look on my Canva document that has all of the like topics written in my social media post for it, and I write on that topic, and it just comes to me. And so sometimes I think we just need to start, but we also have to commit to ourselves, and also like enjoy the journey. And if this book doesn't do anything, that it doesn't matter. I've enjoyed the journey, and I've learned so much along the way, and I've learned so much about myself along the way. And I think that's something that's really important. I'm lucky because I also have a career that's like pays all the bills, and I'm not like totally counting on this book to like bring me millions of dollars. I'm like, I can still pay all my bills, and this is my passion project. And I really hope that it helps other people in the end, because I know doing it has helped myself. And so, Grant, have you ever had that experience with people where you're like, okay, like you have to start, but you have to commit to showing up for yourself every single week?
Yeah. I wrote a message to a company that I consult to this morning, kind of around that. And I was saying that, you know, kind of what they told me was in place wasn't in place. A bunch of really, really nice people, but not dedicated to the task in hand. Their loyalties were split doing different tasks for the company. And I'm like, that's never going to work. You know, that it can work. Whether those people would either get soloed into one commitment or you get the right people in. But I wanted to know what it is. And I said, as you know, you need to have those constituent parts in place, then the results can follow. But you need to have the commitment. People got to want it. People have got to want it. Um, that's the one thing people say, can you motivate me? Why? Why do you want me to? I don't want you to do something you don't want to do. If you don't want to be an accountant and you want to be a zookeeper, then study that instead. I'm not pushing anyone into doing it. If you want to do something, do it. And my advice would be the best way to do anything is passion is really important, because passion is an ignition. It's like a match. It's like a flame. It starts something up, but flames go out. You need something then to keep it going. And that is your sense of being. We talk last night I was talking about this with a guy. Simon Sinek says it so well in The Why. Knowing don't worry about the what or the how, just why are you going to do something? Why? When people say to me, I'm going to write a book or I'm going to make a webinar, my first question is, why? Well, I'm like, no, I don't. I don't know. Why? Why are you going to? Well, like, everyone's doing it. I'm like, and why are you doing it? What's your desired outcome from doing like a book? You can have a book for many reasons. Are you using it to make money? Is it a calling card? Is it a positioning? What is the purpose of it? I'm an international best-selling author, and I can tell you, my purpose was not to make money from that book. Not at all. In fact, it cost me money. Right? All the money I made, I gave every penny away to charity, every single penny. So that wasn't the object to make the money. It was a positioning tool. Really, and it was to give something back to people, to get people to start doing things. That was the whole purpose of the book. And I wrote a chapter in the book of other people. So there's different desired outcomes, and this is why I say, why do you want to do it? Because that why is the thing that will carry you on when you're having a rough day, when it's a down day, when something obstacle gets in your way. And you think, why is it so hard to succeed? If you haven't got the reason why you're doing it, you won't carry on. The struggles can be a little bit too much, so find the reason why. Even longevity of life. One of these, I talk about living in the blue zone. This whole theory about how you can live longer. When they asked one of the old guys, what a young doctor got on a mountain bike and had to go all through the hills to get to the village to see these old people, and he examined him. This guy was like 101, and he said, "You're in pretty good shape." He said, "How'd you do it?" He said, "Well, I know why I'm getting up in the morning. I have a reason to get up." He said to the young doctor, "What's your purpose in life?" Doctor said, "I don't think I've got one." He said, "Well, you better get one pretty quick if you want to live a long time."
Did you watch the documentary on the blue zones? Has
Oh,
it owns it?
what's
Did
the
you watch
wall?
it? Yeah,
What's
it's
the wall?
good. They're
Fascinating
so
guy.
good.
Yeah, it's a thing that keeps coming in my life. And in my trip in Bali recently, it was mixing in with laughing yoga that I was teaching, because I don't know if I mentioned last time, I was invited to speak at an ashram. I mean, it's a huge, huge, huge honor by the person who brought laughing yoga to Bali. And as we was, no kidding, we was driving the day before through the jungle. Now, it's a tarmac road, proper through the middle of a jungle. I kid you not. And as I'm talking about laughing yoga with a person, not so knows my teacher, right? I had two teachers, and we're driving there with him and his wife through, and we're talking about it. And I get my downloads, don't I? And I've got a, oh my God, I've just had a whole new thought process of what I can do with laughing yoga. So I got a private visitation with the guy who brought laughing yoga into Bali. He said, "Finally, you're here," because he partly taught me to be a teacher. Went there, and my teacher was filming me speaking to him, and I said, I've got an idea of how you can combine things in life, coaching, other modalities that I do, which I'm not going to mention here, and you can combine it to give a 360-degree approach to success in life. When I say success, I don't just mean business. I mean all areas of life, at all stages of life. And he was like, yeah, he gave me his blessings. I like it. That's when he asked me to extend my trip so that I could teach to his people at his ashram, which was an enormous honor. I couldn't believe he asked me. I mean, that's enormous. Very, very honored, and a very humbling experience. Um, but the reason was, you see, it comes back to the reason why. So some pivotal things. I mean, I had a pretty horrible year, but people close to me passed away. And some great things. I got an honorary doctorate this year for my work, and it was a real up and down year. But I watched one of the things which inspired me was watching this documentary about living in the blue zones, which, if anybody's listening, I mentioned it before. It's a study was conducted over areas in the world where people tend to live, quite a few people tend to live over 100. And they put a blue dot on the map where this is. Well, some areas, there's quite a few villages and towns with these blue dots. So close, in fact, that they overlap And that dot becomes what they call a zone. Hence the expression living in the blue zone. So then they did a deep dive. Well, let's go to these places and let's see what's going on. Maybe they're very affluent. They can afford really great healthcare. Nope, not at all. Many of the places are quite poor. So long story short, they made a factor of 8 different levels of living or different facets which contribute to living in a blue zone. And they tried it, blah, 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 blah. Then they said, well, it'll never work in America. But in the middle of California, they found a place where it also happened. There was a blue zone. They went and looked at that. And yeah, very different, but it had these contributing factors. Then they said, well, it would never work in Texas because the guys in Texas aren't, that way minded. They're great people, but they're not given to giving their life that way. And many places in Texas said no, but they found one place in Texas. I think there was a new governor and he was open to new ideas. And he said, we'll trial it. And they're doing it. And I believe they're getting similar results there too. So it can be mapped out. So I'm thinking about longevity of life. But what's the problem when you live so long? As a lady I will be on a call with tomorrow night, a lovely lady, very late 70s, an enigmatic lady who's done so many special things in her life. She proudly said, I'm living so long, I'm going to need to get another job. I can't afford to live this long. Right? She keeps living. So then I thought, when you're younger, you don't know what you're doing, right? Yeah, what should I do? Should I do it? Some people are very lucky, they know what they want to do, but some people don't. So we can give them clarity. As you get older, you then know what you want to do, and then you get busy doing it, and you're working, and you're going up the career ladder, and you're having kids and doing all that kind of stuff. And then you look around at what happened? Where did my life go? What my kids have grown up. Who am I now? Am I a father? Am I a mother? Who am I? Of course, you still are, but you're not living that role so much every day because the kids have moved away. And who am I now? And then you will go through that period of rediscovery. And then like your body's changed of shape a bit, and you're like, where did that belly come from? I never had that. I had a 6-pack. Like, where did this come? This isn't me. But suddenly it's crept up, and like you go for this reinvention of who I am. So then it's about making money. Then it's about time. You want time. Oh my God, I want more time. Time with the kids, or perhaps I never made time to have kids, or perhaps it's time with the grandkids. I want to spend more time. My wife and I have grown apart. Let's get to be lovers again. All that blah, 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 all this stuff. Or I never did go to Egypt, did I? Let's go to it. You want time. So then you can start making smarter revenue streams to do. And then you start, I like this life. I like it. I want more of it. Perhaps you need to start living in the blue zone.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at this. You can make health, happiness, and some people just don't attract money. They do all the things. I know people, they do all the things. They go to the courses. They're brilliant students, but it don't work. What's going on? It's something energetically. You're not attracting the right things. So you can help people bring in abundance into your life. It's not more doing, it's actually removing barriers. So it can help people all around your life. So this is a sense of why, a sense of purpose, a sense of legacy. If you can find, now it hasn't got to be as grand as that. And don't say your family is your sense of purpose. Sorry, it isn't. They aren't. They're your loved ones, they're your duty, they're what you live for. I get that. But it's not your sense of purpose, because your sense of purpose is like a legacy outside of you and your family. It's something big. If you can find something like that, if that's the reason you're writing that book, or you're doing that project, or you're starting that charity, or whatever it is, that will keep you going. That will help to elude you away from the fear of failure in that, let's call it a business, in that business project or whatever. Okay. It will help you to override it, because the outcome is way bigger than the fear. And as we said also, your memory of that fearful experience is a pretty poor memory anyway. So you're remembering it wrong. Sorry, folks. You do, I do. We all remember it wrong. All right. So let yourself off the hook, firstly. And secondly, if you find that sense of why, that will propel you through. Do kids know about this, Amanda?
I want to just actually, while we're on this topic, I just want to ask Nomza a question because like she's the one who started the talk show, and like how did you overcome the fear of failure by like continuing this? Like you are the like soul of this talk show, and you are the one that shows up each and every day, whereas like I only show up once a week because, well, it's 6 a.m. to be on here, but also like I know one of the things I want to do in my life too is to start a podcast, but on the focus of education and rethinking what it means to be educated. That's one of my like goals eventually down the road, is to really find a way to help people rethink how we could restructure education in order to make it better for children. Because like even Grant and I've talked about before, and Nomda, you've talked about with us too, on how like you didn't have a great experience in school. So that's one of my like new other passion projects that I'm like, I have to finish this abundance project first before I can start this. But Nomza, how do you overcome that fear to continue? Like you've been running this for like 4 years now, at least, I think, right? You're on mute. You have to unmute yourself.
Because Des, my business coach, he's me and Des, we've been together coaching me for on and off for like 5 years. He's been coaching me for 5 years, but we were together, no, 6 years. We were together solid for 5 years. So now is on and off because he's so good to me and he's like a brother to me. So that's why when he's doing whatever he's doing. So the reason why I started a talk show, I saw him running events. The first time when I went to him, I was like, I need you to coach me to build my business. And he was like, if I'm going to coach you, you're gonna have to do the speaking, you're gonna have to put yourself out there. And I was like, but I'm paying you to actually coach me. Why do I need to do all these things? He was like, I can't do things for you, Nomsa. You have to do it. But then I watch him how he does things. In order for him to get the audience to be known, he works for it. He used to do lives, he does events, and I was like, I can't just sit there in the office and not doing anything. So I gave up TV. I don't watch TV at all. So my 1 hour now is my TV time. So I was like, okay, let me do this. But doing this is like you guys came along, and when you came along, there was 35 of you. And how many people left? Is it 6 or 7?
I don't know how we left actually.
Yeah, so there was 35. So I watched the 35 coming in and go, and some of them they'll argue with me like, and gossip talk shows and this. Why are you choosing gossip talk shows? Like, and I watch. There's a guy, my pastor. He's Dr. Olukoya. Dr. Olukoya has a university, his churches, he has everything. It's like the X Factor. He has everything within the church. So, and then I watch him doing what he does. And then he said, the name that you choose is very, very important to the business if you are a Christian. So I went on Facebook. I was in my lowest because it was me first. And to me, I was like as well to talk, right? And goes to talk shows. And then this my business partner, she was like, it was the four of us with what's his name? Grant, what's his name in the
Jason,
group? Jason.
yeah.
It was Jason and Shazad. It was the four of us. So then because Jason and Shazad, they couldn't have time to create like topics and stuff. So we showed up one day after the show, she kicked them out. So I was like, okay. When she kicked them out in the night, and then she kicked me out. She called me on Zoom. Was it Zoom or phone? And then she told me that she was kicking me out of the talk show. Then I said to her, you can't kick me out because the talk show is the talk show. I started the talk show and then I gave you the idea. And then she was like, you have to go. then she left, she changed. I was like, I'm not going. We changed the page and stuff. But then I started going on Facebook. You guys expected the talk show the next day. So I went to Des. I called Des. I was like, Des, I've been kicked out of the talk show. The talk show, but the people expected there'll be no talk show tomorrow. But these guys expect the talk show. Do you have? It was around 8 or 6 p.m. And I was like, do you have anyone who can brand? Is our designer available to brand the whole thing, Facebook and YouTube now? And he was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. So when I woke up, the brand was different. The talk show was going. So then after that, I realized that actually, if you have people around you, and you guys as well, you didn't judge me or anything. I watch everyone coming in and going, and most of the people that were coming in were looking for the fam to be famous. They were looking for how many audience we have, but you guys came on. You just wanted to save. And I think every day when I get up in the morning, I get up to make sure the talk show is there for you guys. It's no longer my talk show. It's like even everything. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed everything that I do with the talk show. I don't make a decision without telling you guys because it's no longer my talk show anymore. I know I'm in partnership with other people, and that's what keeps me going. I think you guys believing in me and me believing in myself. And that's what makes me, even when you don't show up, I don't care. Amanda goes, I'm very sleepy, so I'm like, go to sleep. So I know that you guys put your blood
Days where
sugar.
I literally, because I get up at 5 to be on this. So
Yeah.
then, so if I don't sleep from like 2 a.m. until 4 a.m., you'll get a message being like, I have to sleep before I go to work. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you guys know that this is your home. I think it is just having this little family, and that's why I don't bother anymore. Carol Anne tried to get me to guest speakers every day. I don't bother anymore because I know I have my own family. If the talk show you guys are not here, I just run the talk show myself. So that's what keep me going. Having the right people around you and people that believes in you. When you cry together. So that's what helps me to keep going, and also God give me strength. I think a month ago, I woke up in the morning, I pressed the link and put all my security details, and my money was gone. And I asked the bank, and the bank were like, we can't, because you put your security details, we can't pay back. We cannot sort it out. So I was like, what am I going to do? So what I did, I found this website where I go and take a loan. And when I take a loan, I go and pay it back straight away. And then I go back and take a loan, and then I paid it back straight away. They're building my credit. So I've realized they're building my credit. Yesterday, I just applied for fun, the big money, and it got approved. And I was like, what? Yeah. So I've realized actually is that website is building my credit. But if I didn't believe in myself, and when my money was gone and started blaming, I didn't blame. I just said, God, you know where I need to be, and you know where I need to be tomorrow with my business. I don't want to give up my business. And I just kept going and I kept going. I didn't even talk about it. I just kept going and kept going. And when the funds were gonna had to use my personal, because my business and my personal account, everything is linked. So if you wipe out my business account, you wipe out my personal account. So that was what I was going through. But I didn't give up. Through that pain, I started developing skills. So I think me having God in my life is just changes, and having you guys are great family. I don't know if you guys know that you serve people for serving, not for fame. You don't serve them so that you can have lots of audience. That's what I've noticed. And I've made a decision that 2025 it has to be different. Because there's been a hold, like a stagnation. So I'm working on that stagnation that I need to find a breakthrough. And I can see things step by step, they're changing. So things are changing, and we'll see the next chapter of our lives in 2025.
I have a question that was really great, Nomza. Thank you for that. Because like Nomza just explained a lot of the struggles that she's had with like getting the talk show running and continuing the talk show and everything. Grant, because you coach so many businesses and people who run their own businesses, when they start feeling like they're failing or their business is actually failing, what's the like best advice that you give them when you can see clearly, because you've coached so many people, what is it that you're like, okay, how can we navigate this? But before you answer that, I will just go back to your other question about kids. One of the things I always say to kids when they're failing in a certain area is like to their parents is now find something that they excel at. Let's focus on that. And when they start to feel confident in this area that they already excel at, it will trickle into the other areas and it will lift up their self-esteem and they'll be more willing to try in these other areas. But we have to find something that they feel good at and safe at first before we focus on this area that they're not so great at. And so that going back to that, but my question for you, Grant, is like when you come in to coach a business or a person and you're like can see clearly that like the business is failing, what's your advice that you give them in order to get them out of that like crisis?
Good, great question. I think the first thing,
Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to go. Granty, you are the host.
okay, all right, okay.
You are. Can you check? You are the host, right?
Am I the host? Am I the host?
Yeah.
I'm the host. I am the host. All right.
Okay. Yeah, I've got another meeting at
I have to
2.
go soon too, but I really want Grant to answer this
Okay.
question.
Oh yeah.
All right. So thanks, Nom. So take care. Speak soon. So you walk into a business and it's fading fast. And I was taught this years ago at university. In fact, I specialized on this turnaround. So you go in, it's what I call like the intensive care of a business. You go around, the muck has hit the fan and you come in quick. What I need to do is get absolute clarity on what's going on, where it is, what's going on. And I'd like to do what I call a walk around management. Now, sometimes you can't do that if you're not physically there. Let's say it's the other side of the world. But I want to get a virtual tour. I want to just talk to the owner. Tell me about the business. I need some time. Tell me what it is you do, who you serve, where the suppliers, who's the key players, where's the pinch points. I want to know exactly where they are. I want to know where they used to be. Was it going well, and what's changed? What's changed? Now, it may be that the eye has been taken off a ball. It could be a personality thing. Quite often the case. Quite often there could be ulterior motive. There could be all kind, or it could be, legislation changes that come into the business. So what they sell, manufacture, or whatever, or advice has changed legislatively. Could be something like that. It could be stuff going on in a pivotal person's personal life. But I need to get absolute clarity on where they are. Then I need to make sure, is there a shared vision in the company? Are they really all pointing their efforts in the right place? If they are, and there's a commitment, you said the word earlier, there's a commitment to do it, then it can all be turned around. If money is owed, etc., negotiate terms. Negotiate terms, because quite often, if people are owed money, they know if that business folds up, then they're never going to get the money. So it's in their interest to be a little more lenient with that company to allow them a chance to get up and running again to pay that money back. So if you have to wait longer for your money, it's better to wait longer than never to get it at all. So not that that's the desire. You want to pay people as quickly as possible, but if push comes to shove that, but negotiation is the key. But to do that, you need to be absolutely honest, absolutely transparent where you are, where you used to be, what has changed, what are the factors, is there commitment from everybody? If there's not, then you know what, you need to get different people in. But if there's commitment, and then to make a plan and communicate with the stakeholders. And that is it. Once you get that aligned value, normally they come back with a great passion. And then it's a question of monitoring that closely, looking at the numbers and team meetings and keeping the energy high and focusing on the numbers and focusing on what really matters and saying goodbye to things that don't matter.
Mhm.
It's about focus, realigning focus. That would be my whistle stop tour through what I do.
I love it. Thank you. That was so informative for sure. And it just is like gives me even just to think about like I know my business isn't really like I teach full time, so my business is like a passion project, but it is to like definitely like look at my focus and where I'm spending my time and to get aligned, right? So
Yeah.
that those things I'm spending the most time on.
And that's what I do at this time of year is talking to various clients saying like where I'm spending my time, because time is precious. Time is
Mhm.
a precious commodity, As we know, we get busy in life and time slips away. And here we go. Another year is drawing to a close. Not quite, but we're on the latter part of it. And like, what have you done? Did you reach your goals? I'm not saying detailed goal, but how you want to live your life.
Yeah.
Why did you not do it? Don't beat yourself up about it, but just be honest. Why did you not? What got in the way? And did you value spending your time there, or would you rather spend it here? Start to make those decisions. It hasn't got to be a cataclysmic showdown, but just make an informed decision on where you want to spend your time on this earth and what you do. And I do that as well, and I'm doing it right now about where I'm spending my time for this year and next year and stuff like that. So, yep, that's it in short. So if that helps you, Amanda, if anybody's listening out there on social media, let us know your thoughts around it. Write the message, put the comments in. NOMSA can dig those out and perhaps we can circle back to them. But happy to help you. And if you need help from Amanda, NOMSA, or I, you know how to contact us. Contact us at the show. We can help you in a range of things in your life, in your personal life, in your business, in your spirituality, in your relationships, because it's all communication with yourself and communication with the others, and that is really the emphasis of how to succeed. But we'll show you exactly how. Amanda, over to you on the record.
Well, I just think today I really loved our conversation today. There was a lot that I took from it, and I hope that I was able to give some insight into it, even though I focus with children and just seeing those like failures, those fears of failures in kids rise up and how we can overcome them at such a young age, and hopefully that transfers throughout their lifetime. But I know that so many people really struggle with like even starting because of fear, and so I hope that we at least initiated you to just be like, just start and then like keep going. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, have a wonderful day.
Thanks, sir. And Amanda, children are so important because children are the future. Yes, it's been said 1,000 times, but they are. But also, if you're a parent, you're an aunt, an uncle, whatever, or grandparent, they're a big part of your life too. So it's part of our ecology, if you will. It's very important, very important. And get them kids taught right, and as we get older, they'll be looking after us nicely. So,
Yeah.
good job, Amanda. Well done. All right. Take care, everybody. Take care and bye for now. Bye bye. Bye bye.